Hello, and welcome to the Nairobi Review. My name is Katy, and I'm your host. We would like to dedicate this week's episode to all the businesses that had just begun or were about to launch when the COVID-19 pandemic hit us. Even the TNR, okay, you're not really supposed to dedicate an episode to yourself, but it is true that the TNR was supposed to start as a podcast, and we were in the process of setting up our podcast recording studio when this happened. What we decided to do instead was to take advantage of the fact we were going to be hunkering down in our houses for a long time to bring together a team which would, instead of focusing initially on podcasts, would actually focus on doing interesting video content. And while we're on the subject of fun content, boy, do we have an episode in store for you guys this week. For our biggest weekly digest yet, I will be reliving my favorite musical online experience of the week. I will furthermore be trying to explain what the new announcement with regards to the Artist Fund means for artists and what you have to do to be able to apply. Also, given that we have reached the end of the holy month of Ramadan, we thought we would send our Mombasa correspondent, Michael Popple-Batch, to Old Town to get a feel for what this lockdown has been like for them. But first, let me give you a quick recap of my week. So this week, I went to the first ever COVID-compliant restaurant in Nairobi. I cannot begin to express to you how terrified I was before I even had to leave the house. And the idea that I was going to be in a public space with a bunch of people was absolutely terrifying. It was so much. I didn't even know how to wear clothes. I'm used to wearing these nice shirts for you guys, but like obviously there's nothing going on underneath there. And so it took a bit of relearning how to be a normal person. Once I got there, I was a little bit calmer though. Well, here we are at the Lavington Social. My panic is not too bad. And managed to get some good shots of the interior, this is a brand new hotel and restaurant. Very hipster, like super cool. It really has attention to detail that I thought was fantastic, and I fully expect to continue to have business meetings there whenever I can. It goes without saying that the timing on this is a bit awkward. I mean, this gives us a sense of nostalgia. Okay, let's check it out. COVID compliant, guys. Here we are. Hello. Unfortunately, by the time I got to the food review, or just the food bit, I was so into my business meeting that I forgot that I was supposed to be doing photography. But enough about lifestyle. What else did I do this week? Let's see. Well, it's not really what I did. There was one story I've really been following, and I don't know if you guys remember this Italian aid worker who about 18 months ago got kidnapped in Kilifi. So her name was Silvia Romano, and she'd come to Kenya to help the starving children or the poor children, or we'll insert sad word there. On closer inspection, the NGO she was working with was affiliated to a very dodgy pizzeria in Malindi. All the Italian news outlets have been reporting this. It's called Karen Blixen Pizzeria. To know, it sounds totally dodgy. I'd never heard of it before. But so anyway, I mean, there are many questions about why she was in this village by herself, many questions about whether she knew her abductor. There's a lot of unanswered questions. However, the point is that when the Italian Prime Minister Conte managed to secure her release, he thought he had a coup. He was going to bring the morale booster to the country that had been suffering from this pandemic, and finally they're going to bring this chick back and it's going to be amazing. Except there was a little problem. When Mademoiselle Romano stepped off the plane, she appeared to be wearing a green hijab. When asked about this, she told people that she had voluntarily converted to Islam during her time there. Boy, were the Italians pissed. She received death threats, she received insults, editorials from really important people who basically called her a traitor to her country. I mean, this is because she converted to Islam. She found a faith, a belief. Although, to a certain extent, and I hope I don't piss anyone off too much for saying this, but If you're going to convert to Islam, surely there are some more inspirational models of that faith to use as your basis for the conversion. And come on, let's be honest, guys, here. I mean, she was with Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab isn't exactly a paladin of human rights and equality and, I don't know, peace and not killing people and religious tolerance. So in as much as I was quite horrified to see Italians take on Islamophobia with huge gusto, let's say if it was a friend of mine and she converted to Islam while being kidnapped by Al-Shabaab, I wouldn't really take very well to this conversion. I'm just going to be honest on this one. Sorry. Did you enjoy 30 seconds of non-COVID related news? We actually have a new segment for you, a news and brief segment that we really hope you enjoy. So here you go.
Hi, this is the Nairobi review. My name is Frida Sande. Do you miss drinking with your buddies? Because, of course I do. In the USA, there's a guy who decided that he really needed a glass of wine. And when I say it really needed, he decided to pull over a tanker and try to open the valve underneath. Imagine being the 911 receiver saying, there's a guy who's decided to open the valve underneath my tanker and is now drinking wine straight from whatever that thing is called. I don't know how to explain that story. Now, obviously, the state is crazy enough as it is right now, but that takes it to another level. Welcome to Ocean's 13 US edition. Do you miss football? I do. And I'm a Man U fan, and you know that they hurt me all the time from losing. What are you doing? You know what? Let me just calm down. Let's just be happy that football is back. Well, at least in certain places like Germany and South Korea, where they decided that instead of the players playing to an empty crowd, they would buy, filler-ins in their seats. They got sex dolls instead. So you guys thought that Samantha would replace us for everything, Oh, we don't need us babes anymore. Oh yeah, we don't have a girl who will ever complain. Yeah, now they're in the stands.
Thank you, Frida. That was fantastic. I do hope you come back next week. Anything that isn't strictly COVID related is just like candy for us at the moment because it's 3 months now and it's beginning to get a bit tough on all of our brains. So meanwhile, closer to home, the Minister Amina Mohammed last week announced the guidelines for artists to get access to the funds that had been announced by President Kenyatta back in April. So this is the COVID-19 Artist Fund. So we were really excited about this. We'd already talked about it a few weeks ago in one of our episodes, and so we wanted to know exactly what this meant. Well, turns out that getting money for the government if you're an artist isn't quite as easy as dialing a Jumia delivery or something. Who would have thought? Basically, when it came right down to it, the difference is that we had originally understood that this was going to be a fund, an open-ended fund for artists. The actual fund, the actual announcement, changed the emphasis on it being a government, so the government is doing COVID sensitization programs. So it wants artists to submit projects that can be part of that overall campaign for COVID sensitization. So don't get us wrong. I mean, we think this is very, very cool, and we really admire the fact that the government has recognized the role that artists can do in specifically COVID sensitization. That said, however, we do feel that there is a bit of a difference in emphasis when you say we are creating a fund for artists to help see them through the pandemic, and instead then when it comes down to it, you're doing a call for submissions for art, which is going to be part of your message. So we just thought it was confusing how it was initially communicated and then what it actually turned out to be. And now for our music review. Before I continue, I would like to highlight the difficulty of doing music reviews, or in fact any kind of reviews, in a city like Nairobi where we are all so closely connected. It becomes very difficult not to do a sort of parade of shout outs to your besties, and generally you don't really end up saying negative things. Not that reviews should always be negative. With that in mind, I would like to express how absolutely delighted I am that my good friend Matt Swallow has, during his isolation in the UK, begun doing a series of acoustic shows which are, in my opinion, amazing. For those of you who don't know him, Matt Swallow is the founder of ADA Studios, which used to operate at the Alchemist Bar and then later became Muse Club. He is also the frontman of the Kaya Collective Band. He's an integral part of Kilifi New Year's Eve and has been running a stage there, I think, for the last 3 years, if I'm not wrong. His alter ego, Lasta, is also one of the few house DJs that I can actually listen to, but I suppose that says a lot for how I feel about house. Basically, he recently released a video called One Boot on the Floor, and I just thought it was beautiful. Matt has an amazing voice, and I think that is one of his really not strongest quality, but it's this quality that you don't expect at the beginning, and then when you see him on stage, you're so mesmerized. But that's enough with the shade. Why don't we distract the conversation by heading over to Mombasa, where our correspondent, Michael Popobach, has a report for us.
This is POP reporting for the Nairobi Review. Right about now, I'm in the center town of Mombasa, trying to see how the lockdown is like. This is Digo Road, and this is how it's like. The place has been locked down, the other side is working as normal, but this other side, there's nothing happening. As you can see the street out there, they are looking like. This is how the street is like. There's nobody going through that border. Marikiti market has been fixed up. We talked with quite a number of people around the market. People can't feed their families, and people can't go on with their regular duties. So a lot of people are confused as well, as they don't believe that coronavirus is existing, and there are some who do believe it is existing. So there's quite a number of people who are so happy that the government is taking coronavirus threat so seriously.
Mimi naitwa Omar Hamid na nafanya kazi na mini dereva wa tuk-tuk na nakaa Old Town pale Magwende. Kwa sasa nimekubali matokeo tu, labda ni kutumwa pale nyumbani kama kusaidia mama pale mzigo hivi, ndio uweze kupata kitu yani. Wanaweka lockdown zao kwa sababu wanasema kuna corona hapa hivi, ndio maana wametufungia, lakini mimi kivyangu mimi sijaiona hiyo corona. Maana sijaona hata jirani yangu mmoja ambaye amepatikana na hiyo corona, tukamuona tukashuhudia yani kwamba huyu hapa ana corona. Wafanye kazi ambao watu waweze kujilinda wenyewe, ili watu wapate mambo ya riski ya chakula, kwa sababu chakula ndio kitu important kwa maisha ya mwanadamu.
You know that they should consider people are jobless because of the problem we are having.
I'm in Old Town right now. See how the place is deserted. There's nothing going on. I can't go further from here, but this is how the lockdown is in Old Town. Reporting for the Nairobi Review, this POP, aka Michael Popobach.
Well, thank you, POP, Michael Popobach. So we'll never quite figure out what your name is as a reporter, but we're good with that. Here at TNR, we have been appalled, dare I say, disgusted, like the rest of Kenya with a heart, at the images of families being made homeless and evicted in the middle of the rainy season and a global pandemic in the neighborhood of Kariobangi in Nairobi. We read that it's about 600 families, up to 5,000 people, were left sleeping on the street and don't understand how the government can let one of its own branches, because it was the Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company that did the evictions, allowed something to go ahead with that. It warms our heart to see that a group of Kenyans have come together and are raising both money and goods and blankets for the project. And so we would encourage you to donate. We will give you a number and a paybill number to do so to this organization, because, hey, we're here in our houses, we're dry, we're watching our smartphones. There are people right now that have no choices through no faults of their own. So give what you can, if you can. Every little helps. With that, I would like to sign off for this episode. It has been fun for me. I hope it has been fun as much for you. And we shall see you again next week. Goodbye. Ciao.